Taurus, you have never been too much. You have never been too hard to love. You have never been too slow to open your heart. You are a solid fortress, yet inside you is a garden in full bloom. And not everyone is worthy of stepping through that gate. What I am about to say is not an ordinary love horoscope, not a few spiritual colored words of comfort. This is a doorway in time. A week when the soulmate energy of Taurus is activated. And this time, you are no longer standing outside. Today, I will share 7 reasons why this is not just a romantic week, but a week that reshapes the structure of your heart. Stay until reason number 1. Because the last thing is not loud, but it will touch you in a very deep way. Before we begin, if you are a Taurus, write your zodiac sign and your birth date in the comments. This is not superstition. It is a confirmation that you are ready. Now, take a slow, gentle breath. We begin. Reason 7. They never told you this wait was preparation. Taurus, are you tired yet? Tired of always having to be the stronger one in love? Tired of always being the one who endures more? Tired of watching others love so easily, while you had to learn through pain? There is something they never told you. This delay is not punishment. This silence is not abandonment. This loneliness is not destiny. It is preparation. You are not walking on dry land because you are unlucky. You are walking on hardened ground because your soul is being tempered into stone before it becomes soil. And only Taurus truly understands that. You do not love impulsively. You do not hand over your heart for a few promises. You do not fall because of a few days of attention. You observe. You listen. You wait. People call you stubborn. But in truth, you simply refuse to plant your roots in the wrong place. And here is the quiet magic unfolding that you may not yet realize. This week, your energy is no longer as defensive as before, not because you have grown weaker, but because you are finally strong enough not to be afraid. Perhaps you have noticed yourself changing in the softest ways. You no longer prepare the worst-case scenario every time someone enters your life. You no longer rush to retreat when emotions begin to deepen. You no longer constantly check to see if they are going to leave. That unsettles you a little, because you are used to being in control. You are used to keeping your hand on the door, just in case you need to walk away. But this week, your hand is no longer gripping so tightly. And this is the activation, not someone suddenly appearing and making your heart race wildly. Not a shocking confession that feels electric, but a shift within your nervous system. You begin to feel safer with the thought, I can love again. It sounds small, but for Taurus, it is an earthquake, because you do not open your heart because of emotion. You open it when your intuition whispers, this time is different. And if you truly listen, you will sense that recently there has been a very unfamiliar energy. A pair of eyes that makes you not want to look away. A conversation that does not make you brace yourself. A presence that does not make you tense, but helps you breathe more deeply. No drama, no noise, just peace. And Taurus, a true soulmate does not arrive like a storm. They arrive like a space where you no longer need to defend yourself. You have lived too long in survival mode. Every time someone comes close, you ask yourself, what do they want? When will they leave? Am I investing in the wrong place? You manage your heart the way you manage your finances, carefully, strategically, without waste. But true love is not a short-term investment. It is a lifelong construction. And this week, what is happening is not the universe sending you someone new. It is softening your heart. Like an iron door that has been closed for too long, not forced open, simply opened from within. You are no longer the version of yourself from 5 years ago. You no longer accept ambiguity. You no longer lower your standards to keep someone. You no longer try to prove that you are worthy. Now, you understand something very deeply. The one who stays, stays because they choose to stay. The one who is loyal because they share your depth. The right one will not fear your steadiness. They will see it as safety. And here is the crescendo you need to hear. You are not in a drought. You are waiting for the right rain. The earth is not dry because it is dead. The earth is dry because it refuses to accept just any rain. Taurus does not love just anyone. Taurus only loves the one worthy of planting roots. And this week, your soul begins to realize it no longer needs to stay closed. This is not weakness. This is strength at a higher level. Strength is not keeping your heart sealed forever. Strength is knowing when it is safe to open. We have all wished for your calm when life turns into a storm. But few understand even the strongest soul needs to be loved the right way. This week does not ask you to change your nature. It simply invites you to let your shoulders soften, to allow someone to see that you are not only a fortress, but also a garden. Not everyone who enters your life comes to take. Some come to stay. Some come to build beside you. Some come to cherish the loyalty you have protected for far too long. And when that happens, you will no longer feel the need to brace yourself just to survive. You will no longer fear loving because you fear losing. You will no longer doubt your intuition. You will simply know. Know that you are ready. Say this quietly in your heart right now. I no longer live in drought. I am ready to receive the rain that arrives in divine timing. This week is not for you to search. This week is for you to be found. Taurus, the ground beneath your feet is no longer asleep. It is awakening. And this time, you do not need to be strong just to survive. You only need enough courage to open your heart. Because your waiting has never been meaningless. Reason 6. The walls you built are collapsing on their own. Taurus. There is something you have never admitted. You say you are strong. You say you are independent. You say you do not need anyone to make you whole. But deep inside, you simply do not want to be hurt one more time. You did not build walls out of pride. You built them because you once trusted the wrong person. And do you know what is most dangerous? After a long time, you began to confuse peace with isolation. You told yourself, being alone is fine. If I do not love, I will not hurt. If I do not open, I will not lose. It sounds reasonable, but the heart was never created to survive in emotional power-saving mode. And here is what they never told you. This week, those walls are no longer necessary. Not because the world has suddenly become safe, but because you have become mature enough to discern who is worthy of entering. Do you notice? Recently, you no longer react as strongly as before. You no longer rush to retreat when someone moves closer. You no longer automatically question every kind gesture. It is not because you have become more naive. It is because your defense system is gently recalibrating. This is healing you cannot see. You once loved with your whole being. And when everything shattered, you pulled all of yourself back. But your soul was never created to live folded in forever. And this week, something very quiet is unfolding. A conversation where you do not feel the need to defend yourself. A gaze that does not make you feel judged. A presence that does not tighten your chest. To others, it may seem like a small moment. To Taurus, it is a powerful signal, because you do not open the door just because someone knocks. You open it when your intuition whispers, this person is not here to break you. And here is the turning point you need to hear. The walls you built were never proof of weakness. They were evidence that you once loved deeply. But if you keep them standing for too long, they no longer protect you, they imprison you. Love cannot enter a fortress with no gate. And this week, that gate is gently opening. Not because you are forcing yourself to believe, but because you are beginning to believe that you deserve to be loved the right way. Taurus is loyal to a degree that can feel almost frightening. When you choose someone, you choose them with your whole future. You do not love halfway. You are not loyal only when it is convenient. And because you love that deeply, you also fear loss just as deeply. But listen very closely to this. Your emotional strength does not lie in shutting down. It lies in your ability to love again after you have been wounded. You think you are hard to love. In truth, you simply refuse to be deceived again, and that is not weakness, it is evolution. This week, your energy is shifting from defense to discernment. You are no longer closing the door on everyone. You are only closing it to what is not deep enough. You are beginning to understand. Not everyone comes to test you. Some come to stay. Not everyone wants to take. Some want to build with you. And when you begin to discern instead of defend, you no longer live in fear. You live in choice. This is a profound shift. Defense is born from fear. Choice is born from confidence. You no longer keep your distance out of precaution. You uphold your standards because you know your worth. And here is what has been hidden. A soulmate does not need you to be perfect. They need you open enough to recognize them. If you keep your walls as high as before, you will not see the one standing outside, waiting for you to open the door. This week does not force you to love. It simply melts the last layer of ice around your heart. Be honest with yourself. Lately, have you felt yourself softening? Have you been smiling more? Does love no longer feel as dangerous as it once did? Are you beginning to believe that this time could be different? That is not illusion. That is your heart healing. And Taurus, a healed heart will love even deeper than before. Because this time, you are not loving to fill a void. You are loving because you are already whole. Say this quietly within. I no longer need to defend myself against the world. I only need to choose the right person. Your walls are not falling because you are becoming weaker. They are falling because you are no longer afraid. And when a Taurus is no longer afraid to love, they become the strongest version of themselves. Reason number 6 is not about someone else. It is about the moment you realize you do not have to live inside the fortress anymore. You can step into the light. And this time, you step forward not from lack, but because you are ready. Reason 5. Your karmic cycle is closing, Taurus. Have you ever wondered why you keep meeting the same kind of person wearing different faces? The same kind of wound. The same kind of distance. The same quiet feeling that you are giving more than you receive. You are not foolish. You are not blind. But there are cycles in life that do not end until the soul has learned what it came here to learn. And your lesson was never to love less. Your lesson was to stop giving the whole field to someone who only wanted a bouquet. Taurus loves in a rare and sacred way. When you love, you invest. You do not measure each emotion. You do not save the best parts of yourself for later. You offer stability. You offer loyalty. You offer a future. And because you love that deeply, the wrong connections have left deep cuts. But listen very closely to this. The repetition was never because you lacked value. The repetition continued because you had not yet stopped choosing what felt familiar. There was a time when you were drawn to the unreachable, to those who made you try harder, to those who were uncertain. Why? Because somewhere in your subconscious, you believed love had to be proven. You believed that if you were patient enough, loyal enough, devoted enough, they would change. But Taurus, true love does not require you to repair someone else. This week is a powerful turning point. You are beginning to lose interest in ambiguity. You are growing tired of guessing what someone else is thinking. You are no longer captivated by promises without action. That shift may frighten you, because what is familiar, even when it hurts, still carries the comfort of knowing how the story ends. But you are changing. And here is the climax your heart needs to hear. Your karmic cycle does not end in an argument. It ends in quiet indifference. You are no longer angry. You are no longer trying to prove you are right. You simply do not want it anymore. That is when karma releases its hold. When you are no longer triggered by the old pattern. When your heart no longer races at instability. When you no longer confuse intensity with connection. You are maturing to a frequency the old energy cannot survive in. And when energies are no longer aligned, they fall away on their own. You may notice something unusual this week. Someone from your past thinking of you. An unexpected message appearing. A memory returning in a dream. Do not misunderstand it. This is not destiny coming back. It is the final chapter closing. Karma does not always end with loud goodbyes. Sometimes it ends in silence. and when you can remember them without a storm of emotion, you will know you are free. Taurus is so loyal that sometimes you have been loyal even to your pain. You held on to memories. You held on to hope. You held on to maybe. But this week, you begin to release. Not because you stopped loving, but because you started loving yourself more. And this is a sacred shift. When you stop chasing someone who does not choose you, you create space for someone who truly will stay. You are no longer trying to win in love. You are choosing peace. And Taurus, peace is the signal of a soulmate. A soulmate does not confuse you. They do not make you anxious. They do not force you to guess where you stand. They are clear, and you, for the first time, are becoming drawn to clarity. This is the sign the old cycle is closing. You are no longer stimulated by unpredictability. You are attracted to stability. You are no longer chasing emotional highs. You are seeking solid ground. That is when your soul ascends to a higher level. And when karma ends, destiny begins. Whisper this within your heart. I am no longer bound to what once hurt me. I choose peace over intensity. Taurus, cycles do not end because other people change. Cycles end because you have changed. And when you stop choosing what hurts you, the universe stops sending the same lesson. Reason number 5 is not about someone from your past. It is about the moment you realize you are no longer repeating. And when a Taurus stops repeating the past, she steps into the future with a maturity no force on earth can shake. Reason 4, your soul is recognizing someone. Taurus, something is unfolding, and you have not yet found the courage to name it. There is someone. They do not make your heart race wildly. They do not keep you awake at night. They do not force you to guess where you stand. And yet, they make you feel familiar. And you do not quite understand why. Not familiar because you have met many times. Not familiar because you share countless similarities. But familiar in a very quiet, unusual way. As if you do not need to explain who you are. With others, you have always had to appear strong. Always had to prove that you were fine. Always had to keep your emotions contained. But with this person, you do not need to perform. That is the first sign of soul recognition. And listen closely to this. A true kindred spirit does not make you panic. They steady you. You have mistaken intensity for connection before. Confused adrenaline with depth. But this time is different. This time, you do not feel afraid. You do not feel the need to conquer. You do not feel you must strive to be chosen. You simply feel safe. And Taurus, safety is the language of your soul. You were born under the energy of the earth. You do not seek fireworks. You seek foundation. And when someone makes you feel that foundation, your soul recognizes it before your mind does. Perhaps you have thought of them more than usual. Not obsessively, but as a quiet presence resting in your thoughts. Perhaps they appear in your dreams, or in moments you did not expect. Do not rush to dismiss it as imagination. When two souls of the same frequency draw near, they sense each other before hands ever touch. And this is what you need to understand. This recognition does not come to weaken you. It comes to show you that you are ready. If you were still closed off as before, you would not have noticed them. If you were still repeating old cycles, you would have been drawn to the old type of love. But this time, you are drawn to stability. And that is the sign you have stepped into a different realm. Ask yourself gently, does this person make me feel guarded? Or do they help me soften? Does this person make me anxious? Or do they make me feel grounded? A true soul companion does not arrive to excite the ego. They come to touch your peace. And when a Taurus feels peace with someone, that is never a small thing. It is destiny beginning to move. Reason 3, you are being asked to choose love again. Now, we enter the most intense part. Taurus, recognition is one thing, choosing to stay is another. This week, you are not only being guided towards someone, you are being asked a very deep question. Do you dare to love again? Not love for fun, not love just to see what happens. But to love without keeping one foot outside the door, to love without quietly preparing an escape, and this is where you hesitate, because you know how deep loss can cut. You know what it feels like to place your entire future into someone's hands, and then watch everything fall apart. You once promised yourself, next time, I'll be more careful. Next time, I won't give everything. Next time, I'll hold something back. But half-hearted love is not love. It is defense in disguise. And this week, the universe is not forcing you to choose someone. It is asking you, do you still believe in lasting love? Do you still believe there is someone loyal enough to stay? Someone mature enough not to wound you the same way again? This is not an easy question, because a Taurus does not love many times in a lifetime. You love deeply, and you remember for a very long time. But listen carefully. Maturity does not make you love less. It teaches you to love better. You no longer choose the one who makes your heart feel anxious. You choose the one who makes your future feel clear. And that is the shift from instinct to awareness. This week, you are being asked to make a commitment, not to another person, but to your own heart. A commitment that you will not let the past control your future. A commitment that you are no longer living inside old fears. A commitment that you are strong enough to open your heart once more. Because the deepest truth is this: the greatest love is not finding a soulmate. It is daring to believe you are worthy of one. Whisper this quietly within yourself. I no longer love in fear. I love with maturity. And when a Taurus loves with maturity, they are not only loyal, they are unshakable. Reason number 3 is not about the other person. It is about the moment you decide, I will not live closed off anymore. And when a Taurus decides to love again, the entire universe must adjust itself to honor that decision. Reason 2. You are releasing an old version of yourself. Taurus, there is something even deeper than letting go of a former love. You are releasing an old version of yourself. The version who believed she had to endure in order to be loved. The version who thought loyalty meant staying, even when it hurt. The version who blamed herself when others walked away. You are no longer that woman. And this is a quiet shift, yet it carries great weight. Because Taurus does not change easily. You do not discard your past like an old coat. You hold it. You examine it. You ask yourself where you went wrong. But this week, you are no longer asking, why did they do that? You are beginning to ask, why did I accept it? And that is the moment of true maturity. You realize you were so loyal that you betrayed your own feelings. You were so steadfast that you ignored the warning signs. You were so strong that you would not allow yourself to be vulnerable. But love is not endurance. Love is building together. Not one building while the other stands and watches. And now, you are releasing an old belief. The belief that you must strain yourself to hold a relationship together. This week is not loud. It feels more like a settling. You are no longer trying to prove your worth. You are no longer trying to rescue something that no longer wishes to be rescued. You are no longer chasing explanations. You are simply letting go. And Taurus, for you, letting go is not weakness. Letting go is a deliberate decision. It is when you have thought enough, felt enough, heard enough. You may feel a little emptiness in your heart, but do not mistake it. Emptiness is not loss. Emptiness is space for something new. When you release the old version, you do not lose your loyalty. You elevate it. You are no longer loyal to someone who did not choose you. You are loyal to your own values. And that is a sacred shift. Say this slowly. I no longer hold on to what does not hold on to me. You are stepping into a new level. And that level is not loud, but it is steady. Reason 1, you are not waiting for love. Love is waiting for you. Pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Taurus, you once believed you were moving slower than others in love. You once felt as though you had been left behind. You watched others marry, build families, settle into certainty, and you quietly wondered, when will it be my turn? But the truth is, you were never left behind. You are being preserved. Because the love meant for you is not the kind that arrives only to disappear. It requires a version of you mature enough to hold it. Had it come sooner, you might have given your heart to someone unready. You might have built a future on a fragile foundation. But now, you are different. You no longer love out of loneliness. You no longer choose out of fear of loss. You no longer cling out of familiarity. You love because you finally understand who you are. And that is what shapes destiny. Great love does not arrive when we crave it. It arrives when we are strong enough to contain it. You have learned about boundaries. You have learned about worth. You have learned how to say no. You have learned how to stand firmly on your own. And when a Taurus stands firmly alone, they no longer search for someone to fill a void. They seek someone to build alongside them. This is not the week you go looking for love. This is the week love begins to recognize you. Because you no longer vibrate at your old frequency. You no longer attract those who need rescuing. You are no longer drawn to confusion. You attract clarity. You attract commitment. You attract someone strong enough to stand beside you, not behind you, not ahead of you. And here is the deepest truth. You are not waiting for love. Love has been waiting for you to grow strong enough to hold it. And now, you are ready. Not because you are perfect, but because you understand your worth. Say this clearly. I no longer live in lack. I am ready for lasting love. Taurus, your steadiness is not stubbornness. It is loyalty to what is right. Your loyalty is not naivety. It is rare strength. And your heart, it is not fragile. It is a heart that opens only when destiny knocks in the right way. This week is not a miracle. It is timing. And when Taurus steps into their rightful timing, nothing can make them retreat again. Stay with this feeling for a few seconds. Be still, because what is coming, it is not loud, but it is real. Taurus Soul Oath. Taurus, you have walked through 7 layers of transformation. From barren land, to the wall that collapsed on its own, to the closing of a karmic cycle, to the moment your soul recognized itself, to the decision to love again, to the release of your former self, and, finally, to this truth: you were never late. You were simply being prepared. You are not someone who is easy to love. You are someone who loves deeply. You do not give your heart easily. You give a future. And because you give a future, the universe cannot send you anything temporary. Every delay was a strengthening. Every heartbreak was a purification. Every season of loneliness was a lesson in standing firmly on your own. So that when the right love appears, you do not tremble in fear of losing it. You stand there calm, steady, and say, I choose to love, but I will not lose myself. This is not a promise to another person. This is an oath to your own soul. Listen to each of these words as if you are speaking them to yourself. I no longer chase what does not choose me. I no longer hold on to what does not hold me. I am no longer afraid of love. I simply refuse what is unworthy. I am Taurus. I build with steadfastness. I love with loyalty. I stand firm with emotional strength. And I no longer live in defense. I open my heart not out of lack, but because I am already whole. I no longer live in drought. I am ready to receive the rain at the right time. I do not wait for love. I become someone who can sustain love. And when I am ready, what is meant for me will find me. Taurus, your steadfastness is your foundation. Your loyalty is your treasure. Your emotional strength is your crown. You were not born to love in haste. You were born to love with solidity. And a love that is solid always arrives after a soul has fully matured. Stay with this for a few seconds. Be still. Feel your heartbeat. You are no longer who you were in the past. You are the version ready for the future. If you can feel this, write down one single sentence in the comments below. I am ready for enduring love. Not to prove it to anyone, but so your soul can hear you say it aloud. Taurus, this week does not begin with fireworks. It begins with a quiet oath. I am no longer afraid to love. And when a Taurus is no longer afraid to love, nothing can stop destiny from stepping forward.